Hello, my name is Kenneth Hunter. I am the assistant to the city manager for budget and evaluation, and I'm here to discuss the fiscal year 2023 city manager's proposed annual operating budget, which will provide the resources necessary for the city to provide its programs and services and initiatives as approved by City Council for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. The total proposed budget for fiscal year 2023 is $238,751,760. This is a 6.58% increase from our adopted budget for fiscal year 2022. The general fund, which covers most of the general operations of city government, including public safety, public works, parks and recreation, and other services provided by the city, is proposed at $83,318,700, which is a 4.82% increase from fiscal year 2022 adopted. When developing the budget, there are several key factors that we must consider. First of all, we must make sure that we balance expenditures with the anticipated revenues. These revenues are calculated through various forecasts and projections that are done throughout the course of the year. We also, as part of this year's budget, have to make sure to fund the implementation of council-approved changes to the pay plan, which took place in November of 2021, as well as in April of 2022. We also have to make sure that we provide full budgeting for all debt service and legal obligations of the city. Our proposed budget does not increase the property tax rate. The property tax rate for the city remains at 68.5%, at 68.5 cents per $100 of assessed value. Our proposed budget does include an 8.8% increase to retail and wholesale consumption rates for water and sewer to cover operating and capital expenses in the water and sewer funds. The average residential impact of this rate increase will be approximately $1.56 per month combined water and sewer. We also are including an annual adjustment to the solid waste transfer station rate. This is the amount that haulers and people who bring their solid waste to the transfer station pay on a per ton basis. We will also continue to uphold our commitment to establish we will also uphold our commitment to establish council initiatives, as well as include funding for the capital budget as was originally proposed recently in the 2023 to 2027 capital improvement program. Revenues for the current fiscal year luckily remain higher than forecasted in many areas, which allows for us to present a forecast for fiscal year 2023 where current revenues in the general fund will perform, we believe, at least $5.09 million above the adopted forecast for the current fiscal year. And this is based on current year collection performance. We are anticipating an increase in the ad valorem revenues. This is property taxes on both real property as well as on vehicles and other properties. We're expecting an increase of $656,440 or 2.1%. From the sales tax, we're expecting an increase of over $2 million or 13.3%. From licenses and permit activity, an increase of $129,010 or 8.2%. From sales and service, and this includes solid waste revenues as well as revenues from other services we provide, including the event center, of $1,451,000 or 13%. Miscellaneous revenue should increase by $120,900 or 17.5%. And interest earnings should increase by $325,000 or 110%. Our property tax revenues anticipate a 2% increase in values due to ongoing value activity at a 94% collection rate, which is consistent with our current collection activity. In our considerations based on these revenues, we have to consider the financial impact, again, of the comprehensive adjustments to wages and salaries that have been approved by council, as well as factor in the year-to-year pay for performance adjustments we provide all of our employees. We're also committed to continued improvements to our technology infrastructure, as well as making sure that we fund service contracts for a variety of services, including software, professional services, custodial, as well as other necessary activities. Again, we will make sure to fund the projects or most of the projects that have been identified in our proposed capital improvement program, which was presented to council in April of this year, as well as provide significant allocations of financial resources to accelerate the replacement of heavy equipment. And we continue to be committed to this major city council initiatives, which primarily focus on affordable housing and equitable and inclusive development. In order to balance this year's budget, we had to make significant reductions to the original department requests that were made during the budget process. Our proposed budget reflects a reduction in department submissions by over $11.77 million, which was a reduction of 12.4% from the original submitted amount. To do this, we took several different actions. First, we made sure, with respect to current vacant positions, we did freeze 17 vacant positions. 14 of these are in the general fund and 3 are in utilities. This is a significant decrease from last year where we had 31 vacant positions frozen in the current fiscal year. None of these frozen positions include vacancies in police and fire. All vacancies in police and fire are funded. We also project the anticipation of salary savings due to retirements or resignations, as well as other vacancies. We have continued to restore overtime and part-time budgets to levels that existed prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have, in order to adjust for what's going on with the fuel costs, have increased our fuel budgets up to 95% to accommodate these increased costs. We continue to maintain our travel and training budgets in order to ensure personnel development. We continue to adjust operating accounts to ensure effective operations, and we have significantly increased the funding to provide for the purchases of vehicles, light equipment, and other heavy rolling equipment, which are critical to delivery of city services. There are several council priorities that we made sure to fund in this year's budget, and this is a list of those. With respect to housing rehabilitation grants, we have increased that funding from $500,000 to $700,000. These are for the 3 grant programs that are administered by our Department of Community Development. We also have $425,000 for our continued work on Unity Cemetery, including capital improvements, maintenance, and operations. We continue to fund $500,000 for the council-led affordable housing grants and incentives, as well as provide $595,000 for the continuation of our downtown development grants and incentives. An additional $100,000 has been appropriated in our proposed budget to provide funding for our community response to violent crime. $75,000 is for our community center-based HERO program for youth. $50,000 is for the summer youth employment program. $50,000 in additional funding to the Boys and Girls Club. $50,000 for additional services to youth. $25,000 in additional funding for the operations of our minority and women's business enterprise program that's run out of our purchasing office, $25,000 for neighborhood improvement grants, and $25,000 for council ward day events. As I said before, one of the key objectives of City Council is the continued expansion of affordable housing. To fulfill this objective, we have increased the general fund's housing repair program funding by $200,000 from $500,000 to $700,000. We are also recommending, as part of our budget proposal, the utilization of funds that council has already allocated from the funds that were provided by the American Rescue Plan. The City Council in June of 2021 allocated $3 million from the American Rescue Plan for the purpose of affordable housing. We are recommending that $1.5 million of this $3 million be used to expand the accessibility of our housing repair grant program. This will be allocated in $500,000 a year increments for 3 years. This will allow us to revise the existing programs as well as potentially facilitate broader rehabilitation of eligible homes. The remaining $1.5 million will be used in order to obtain site control of neighborhoods and other areas for further private development of affordable housing. Another key objective that we need to fund in this current budget, in the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023, is accelerating the replacement of heavy equipment. There have been several factors that have prevented us in recent years from being able to replace equipment, and we realize at this point that we need to make a significant effort in this area. Over $3 million is being recommended for appropriation for heavy rolling stock equipment. This would include trash trucks, dump trucks, and other heavy equipment that are used by various departments within the city. We are also recommending $1.58 million in appropriations for the replacement of a fire aerial unit, also known as a ladder truck. We have again appropriated $600,000 for the replacement of police vehicles and an additional $500,000 for light vehicle replacement for the departments of the general fund. With respect to staffing, along with our current staffing, we are recommending in this budget 22 new positions. 6 of these positions are in public safety. This includes 4 new police officers, a forensic ballistics examiner, and a quality control and training coordinator. This last position would be working with our police E911 dispatch center. We also have 3 recommended additions in administrative services, 1 deputy clerk in the city clerk's office, 1 accountant for the accounting division of finance, and a loan collections officer, which will be based in the Department of Business and Collection Services. We have 4 recommended staff additions for technology services. This includes 1 help desk coordinator, 1 applications analyst, 1 business systems analyst, and an IT technician. And then we also have 9 recommended additional positions in energy resources. This includes an energy services manager, a load management technical supervisor, 2 associate engineers. All of these positions will be in electric fund departments. The remaining positions are in the gas fund departments, including a gas pipeline inspector, a gas staking engineer, and 3 gas workers. Again, this budget provides funding for the pay for performance adjustment that all of our employees are eligible. It does cover the funding of pension increases from 11.15% to 12.15% of wages and salaries, and it also maintains current 401k contribution and health insurance premium levels. As I said before, this budget does include the funding of projects that have been identified in our 2023-2027 capital improvement program. This funds continued renovations to City Hall and the Business Service Center, improvements to our warehouse, improvements to the Booker T. Washington High School, or the initiation of significant improvements to the Booker T. Washington High School campus, renovation of fire stations, the extension and maintenance of sidewalks, street resurfacing and reconstruction, paving of dirt streets, and various other projects are funded as part of our proposed budget. With respect to debt that's included in the general fund proposal for fiscal year 2023, we've had minimal utilization of debt financing over the last 3 fiscal years, which provides us with capacity to be able to fund the necessary debt for this year. We have reduced the overall request compared to last year to $5.292 million. A little over $3 million, again, is for heavy rolling stock replacement. $1.58 million is replacement of the fire aerial unit. $500,000 is allocated for fire station renovations, and $270,000 is allocated for equipment associated with business service center renovations. With respect to our utility enterprise funds, this proposed budget ensures the appropriate funding of operations and capital across all of our utility enterprise funds, which are electric, gas, water, sewer, and stormwater. We make sure to review actual revenues on a monthly basis in these funds to ensure that these funds are operating in the black, and that if necessary, budget adjustments can be made to associate with these revenues. With respect to capital expenditures in these funds, we're continuing with the expanded replacement of utility distribution and transmission poles in the electric fund, as well in the electric fund of the replacement of a second transformer at the Old Mill Road point of delivery station. This is one of 2 point of delivery stations that we have where electric power is transmitted in from the transmission network and then distributed out to customers in the city. We're also funding the continued maintenance and expansion of our natural gas utility system, continuing to fund improvements to our water treatment plants and water distribution system, as well as our wastewater treatment plant and wastewater distribution system, and then also continue the improvements to the drainage networks that are located downtown, and this is handled by the Stormwater Fund. Also want to talk a little bit about our continued commitment to economic development and community wealth building. We continue as a city to focus on initiatives that enable us to foster equitable and inclusive development. Again, another allocation that City Council has made or designated from the American Rescue Plan is $2 million to focus on downtown development. We are going to recommend that these funds be used for a major redevelopment program incentive, which would provide over $500,000 per project within the downtown area. This would fund 4 to 5 projects downtown and would be designed in such a way to leverage significant private investment and use of other incentives, such as historic preservation tax credits or also new market tax credits. It is our intent to put this plan together and to recommend it to council sometime in the summer of 2022. With respect to the American Rescue Plan, we felt this was a good opportunity to provide an update on the city's progress with this allocation. Overall, the city received a little over $11.5 million from the American Rescue Plan. Those funds were delivered to the city or being delivered to the city in 2 tranches. The first tranche was received in June of 2021. The second tranche will be received in June of 2022. The City Council has already allocated approximately $6.5 million. $3 million, as we discussed before, has been allocated for affordable housing, $2 million for downtown development, and $1.5 million was allocated and spent on providing premium pay for our employees who were involved in the COVID response in the spring of 2020. In the federal guidelines that are provided for the utilization and allocation of these funds at the local level, it is strongly encouraged that the city undergo a public engagement process with respect to the utilization of these funds. And we are proposing a public engagement process prior to the allocation of the remaining $5 million. This process would take place from June to August or September of 2022. It would include an in-person resident input session that would be hosted in each ward, additional in-person and virtual input sessions that would be held citywide, the distribution of a citywide survey as well. And this information from these input sessions and the survey would be collected and gathered and analyzed, and the results would be provided to the City Council in early fall prior to the further allocation of the remaining $5 million. In conclusion, we do want to say that this proposed budget is sustainable from a fiscal perspective and an operational perspective. As with all of our budgets, we are continuing to consider the future impact of potential events and circumstances. As we are aware, in Eastern North Carolina, where we're based, has the potential to be influenced significantly by tropical storms and other weather events. The budget process, or the budget review process by council, is now underway. It consists of several work sessions, which are being held on May 25th, June 1st, June 6th, and if necessary on June 8th. The public hearing for this budget will be held during the City Council meeting on June 13th, which starts at 7 p.m. Budget adoption is scheduled for the council meeting on June 27th, which will start at 4 p.m. If you would like to take a look at the fiscal year 2023 City Manager's proposed budget, you can find it online at www.rockymountnc.gov. Thank you very much.